Today I'm going to show you how to open up these Subaru Legacy taillights. We have them in because we're building an alumistatic kit that is going to go inside the taillights, just like this. To do so, we have to open it up. So let's figure out what tools we're going to need. The first tool that you're going to need is some sort of cutter. We prefer to use an ultrasonic cutter because look how thin this blade is. I can't even focus on it. The reason that you have to cut these lights open is because they're plastic welded. Now this is a very expensive tool, $300 to $400. So if you don't want to spend that much on a cutting tool, use a Dremel. Okay, my Dremel is loaned out at the moment. But if you use a Dremel with a diamond cutting bit, it's pretty thin, you should be able to cut open most taillights. Next up is going to be some sort of screwdriver. In this case, I'm going to use an impact because the taillights have two Phillips head screws on the back. Once you get everything cut open, then you're going to need to do a little bit of prying on the lens. And that's where a pocket screwdriver and a regular screwdriver comes in handy. Personally, we stick with the pocket screwdrivers just because they are the smallest. You're going to cause less damage with these than you are with these. Once you've done all of your modifications, it's time to put the lens back on and seal everything up. We're going to hold the lens in place using just some regular old tape. And then we're actually going to glue the lens back on using goop. Also used a product called Shoe Goo. They are almost the exact same, whatever you have on hand or whatever you can get. Shoe Goo you can get at Walmart. Once the lens is actually on, then we'll actually come back and silicone it with some black silicone. Try to make sure that you get the silicone too, because this one doesn't shrink as much. Now, after the fact, through the clear lens, you're gonna be able to see the cut line, which is really ugly. So you're gonna need to paint it some way, somehow. You can use spray paint, you can have it professionally painted, you can even just do some vinyl wrap around the edge, or I guess you could just leave it. They're your lights. Now that we have the lenses off, you can really see down in there and you can see just where the plastic is kind of rolled over and melted to the lens. And unfortunately, since it is plastic welded like that, we did have to cut. But most lights today are plastic welded, so most of them do have to be cut. So the next step for these lights is for us to build them. For you, it's the same thing. Do whatever you're gonna do to them, and then you can start to put them back together. For us, we're about to build out this alumistatic board. Unfortunately, that is going to take a long time for us to do. So I'm going to show you how to seal these up by using a different set of lights, but it's the exact same process because they're both plastic welded lights that had to be cut open. We're going to use the Shoe Goo and the tape and some silicone, and then we're going to do some paint work at the very end. Like I said, it's all the exact same process, so you will still know how to do it. Okay, for this next step, you're going to need Shoe Goo or goop and tape. What I do is I peel this plastic back off of the inside of the lens, being really careful not to touch it. Actually take compressed air and blow all of the dust out of the inside of the lens, and then I set it on the light. Okay, your housing has nice clean edges. There's no dust on the inside of the lens, no dust on the inside of the housing. So I actually try to make sure that, one, this fits. I do a little test mock-up first. Everything looks okay. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna set everything in place and use your tape. Okay, tape is on. So what I'm looking for whenever I do this is to match OEM fitment. So the main thing I'm focusing on here is this inside line, because if this isn't exactly like OEM, then it's going to look really weird sitting next to the other tail light, because these are set. So whenever these are on the car, if these two lines are off, it's gonna mess up the whole light, this whole light, and the fitment is gonna be really bad. Now it's time to add your Shoe Goo or goop, and you're gonna put it right inside the crack, in between the housing and the lens. I like to do 3 or 4 spots on this one. 3 is gonna be plenty. On this big one, 4 is definitely gonna be recommended. Okay, you don't have to do this next thing if you don't want to. They're your lights, you do you. But I like to clean this up. That doesn't look professional at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up, make it look completely flush. so that it looks like it's supposed to be there. Pro tip, spray glass cleaner on your fingers whenever you go to wipe your silicone or your adhesive. It helps it not stick to your fingers. Yeah, that looks much better. Time to do the same to these. Okay, you're gonna wanna leave these sitting for at least 24 hours. I like to make sure that that adhesive is really cured before I mess with it. I don't wanna accidentally move the lens and make the alignment off. Okay, it is the next day. The adhesive is fully cured, so now we can actually put in the silicone to seal it up and make it watertight. This is the silicone I use. Just make sure that you get silicone 2. Silicone 1 shrinks after a little bit and silicone 2 does not. They sell it in multiple different colors. I always use the black one. It looks the cleanest. Before adding the silicone, I like to inspect the lens and make sure that there is no dust or debris inside, because we still have these cracks, so we can actually use our compressed air and clean it out before we seal it up. Okay, this is all sealed up. We do have to let this cure. I think cure time on this is just a couple of hours, so that's not too bad. But you're probably thinking that this still doesn't look too good. All of this edge right here, that looks horrible. I've had several people ask why I don't put paint on the inside, and I actually have. Putting paint on the inside actually still shows the cut. It's a lot lighter. The plastic shows up a lot lighter compared to the not cut part. So that's why I paint the outside, because it actually hides absolutely everything. All of this cut, all of the silicone. You can actually see right here, all of this is filled with silicone. So it should be solid black like this very, very thin edge here, but it's showing up white. I normally do a black border. I think this time I'm gonna do a silver border. People seem to like the all silver chrome look. So I think that's what I'm gonna do this time. I'm gonna try a metallic silver and see how the border looks on this. All taped off, ready for paint. All right, that turned out great. I am really glad I went with metallic silver on this set. It complements the chrome perfectly. Of course, I still have one more to do because of the lens that I broke. That one's not here yet. I'm just waiting for the Specti lights to come in so I can cut that open, get that lens on, painted, and then I can ship this set out. The only other step that we have is to replace the halogen bulbs with red LED bulbs. I do recommend leaving the turn signal bulb as the amber halogen, because the LED one is going to make it hyper flash. If you don't mind the hyper flash, you can leave it. Or if you really need the LED turn signal and don't want hyper flash, you can use load resistors. I personally don't like using load resistors. I don't want to tap into the OEM wire harness. So I always just leave the regular halogen orange bulb in there. But that bulb right there is going to get replaced for sure. And I think this one will too. I can't remember which ones light up as the brake lights and which ones don't. But after that, they'll be ready to ship.